The night the woman arrived, rain pressed against the quiet street like a held breath finally released, and the porch light flickered just enough to make the moment feel unreal. The single dad stood behind his half-open gate, one hand still damp from washing dishes, the other gripping the iron bars as if they were the last thing keeping his world from tipping over. Across from him stood a woman in a tailored coat, her posture calm, her eyes steady, the kind of eyes that had seen boardrooms, battles, and victories. When she said she had come to claim what she was owed from 20 years ago, the air itself seemed to freeze, because some debts were not measured in money, and some memories never truly stayed buried. Before the story pulls you deeper into that night and the lives bound together by it, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing when no one is watching, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. He had not expected anyone important to knock on his door that evening. His life had shrunk into a careful routine shaped by responsibility and fatigue. Mornings began before sunrise, packing lunches, tying shoelaces, and reminding his daughter to grab her jacket. Days were spent at a modest job that barely covered rent, groceries, and the ever-present fear of an unexpected expense. Nights were for homework at the kitchen table, quiet laughter over simple meals, and the soft ache that came after his daughter fell asleep when the house grew too quiet and memories crept back in. He was a good father, but goodness did not erase exhaustion, and love did not pay bills. 20 years earlier, he had been a different man. Younger, reckless in his hope, generous to a fault. Back then, he had crossed paths with a woman who was not yet powerful, not yet celebrated, but already burning with ambition and intelligence. Their meeting had been brief, almost forgettable to anyone else, yet life-altering for her. He had been working nights, barely scraping by himself, when he found her sitting alone, defeated, her future collapsing under circumstances beyond her control. He had given what little he had without expecting anything in return because that was who he was. No contracts, no promises, just a moment of human decency in a world that often forgot how to be kind. Time, however, had not been kind to him. The years had taken their toll in small, relentless ways. His partner's sudden absence years earlier had left him raising a child alone, learning how to braid hair with clumsy fingers and how to hide his own grief behind reassuring smiles. Dreams of advancement faded as survival took priority. He did not resent his life, but he often wondered how different things might have been if just one break had gone his way. Still, he never spoke of sacrifice as loss. To him, his daughter was proof that some things were worth everything. The woman at his gate now carried the weight of a world he had never been invited into. She was a CEO, a name whispered with respect in financial circles, a face on magazine covers celebrating innovation and resilience. Yet, as she stood there, rain tracing the edges of her coat, she did not look like someone collecting a debt out of bitterness or power. She looked like someone finally closing a circle. The years between them collapsed into a single heartbeat, and the past surged forward with unexpected force. Her presence stirred something dangerous inside him. Shame mixed with pride, fear tangled with curiosity. He had never told his daughter about that chapter of his life, about the woman he once helped, because it seemed irrelevant, almost fictional compared to the reality they lived now. He had no idea why she had come or what claiming a debt truly meant. Was it gratitude? Was it obligation? Or was it something far more complicated, something that could disrupt the fragile balance he had built around his child? As the rain eased into a soft drizzle, memories unfolded in his mind with cinematic clarity. He remembered the desperation in her eyes back then, the way hope flickered when someone finally listened. He remembered walking away afterward, convinced he would never see her again, satisfied with the quiet knowledge that he had done one small good thing. That memory had sustained him through darker nights than this one, reminding him that even when life felt unfair, his actions still mattered. The woman's gaze moved past him briefly, toward the warm light spilling from the house, toward the unassuming home that sheltered a life built on resilience rather than success. She saw the worn steps, the chipped paint, the signs of careful maintenance by someone who fixed what he could and endured what he could not. And in that moment, she understood something crucial. The man who had once helped her had never stopped being that man, even when the world gave him little in return. What followed was not an explosion of drama, but a slow, aching unraveling of truths. She revealed how that single act of kindness had been the turning point that kept her going when everything else told her to quit. How the money he had given had bought her time. How his belief had restored her courage. How she had carried that moment with her through every failure and triumph. She spoke not as an executive, but as a woman acknowledging a debt that had shaped her entire life. For 20 years, she had searched for him, not to repay him financially, but to honor what he represented. For him, the weight of her words pressed down harder than any hardship he had known. He felt exposed, as if his quiet sacrifices were suddenly illuminated under a harsh light. Part of him wanted to retreat, to insist that he had done nothing special, that he did not deserve recognition or reward. Another part, the part worn thin by years of responsibility, wondered what it might feel like to finally be seen. The challenge he faced in that moment was not whether to accept help, but whether he could allow himself to believe that life might still offer something more. Pride had kept him afloat, but it had also kept him isolated. Accepting that his kindness had value beyond that single moment required him to confront a painful truth. He had been strong for so long that he had forgotten how to be vulnerable. As the night deepened, something began to shift. The woman did not offer charity. She offered partnership, opportunity, and respect. She spoke of education funds, of flexible work, of a future where his skills and integrity could finally be rewarded. More importantly, she spoke of his daughter, of ensuring that the next generation would not have to struggle the way he had. Each word chipped away at the walls he had built around himself, not violently, but patiently. Inside the house, his daughter stirred in her sleep, unaware that her future was quietly expanding just beyond the front gate. He thought of her laughter, her curiosity, her unshakable belief that her father could fix anything. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to imagine a life where that belief did not come at the cost of his own dreams. The rain stopped completely, leaving the street washed clean, reflective under the porch light. In that stillness, he realized that the debt she spoke of was never meant to burden him. It was meant to free them both. Her success no longer felt distant or intimidating. It felt connected to him in a way that was deeply human. His struggles, once invisible, now carried meaning beyond survival. Change did not arrive all at once, but its presence was undeniable. In the days that followed, his routine softened. Work became purposeful rather than punishing. His daughter's eyes shone brighter as opportunities unfolded, not because of wealth, but because of stability and hope. And within himself, a quiet healing began as years of silent endurance finally found acknowledgement. Near the end of this story, if it has touched your heart even a little, please pause and engage. Like the video, share it, and let us know your thoughts. Stories like this remind us that no act of kindness is ever wasted, and your engagement helps spread that message to others who need it. Just before we reach the end, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with a single word or sentence about a moment in your life when kindness came back to you in an unexpected way. Your stories matter, and they may inspire someone else more than you realize. On quiet evenings now, the single dad stands at his window watching his daughter study at the table, her future no longer shadowed by fear. He understands at last that some debts are repaid not with money, but with transformed lives. The woman who once stood on the edge of despair had returned not to take from him, but to complete a circle of humanity that began with a simple choice to help. And in that completion, both of them found something priceless. Proof that goodness endures, that second chances are real, and that even the smallest light can travel farther than we ever imagine. As the days turned into weeks, the ripple effects of that rainy night continued to spread through the single dad's life in ways he never could have predicted. The changes were not loud or sudden like a lottery win or a viral miracle story. Instead, they arrived quietly, almost shyly, as if life itself was testing whether he was ready to receive what he had once given so freely. Morning still began early, but now there was less dread in his chest when the alarm rang. He noticed how his daughter hummed while getting ready for school, how her questions about the world grew bolder, no longer tinged with the anxiety of limitation. Hope had entered their home not as a guest, but as a permanent resident. He struggled at first with accepting this new reality. Years of doing everything alone had trained his mind to expect disappointment, to brace for loss even in moments of gain. There were nights when he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if it could all vanish as suddenly as it had appeared. He questioned whether he deserved the opportunities unfolding before him, whether his single act of kindness decades ago truly justified the stability now offered to his family. Old habits of self-doubt resurfaced, whispering that he was only borrowing happiness, that sooner or later the balance would tip again. Yet every time those thoughts crept in, something grounded him. Sometimes it was the memory of the woman's expression that night, not powerful or superior, but grateful in a way that felt almost sacred. Other times it was his daughter's laughter echoing through the house, fuller and freer than before. He began to understand that accepting help did not erase his strength, it honored it. He had survived without recognition for so long that recognition now felt foreign, but he was learning to let it settle into his bones. The woman, too, was changed by their reunion. Returning to the place where her journey had nearly ended forced her to confront how far she had come and why. In boardrooms and interviews, she had often spoken about resilience and vision, but standing at the gate of that modest house reminded her that resilience was born in moments of vulnerability, and vision was sustained by compassion. She ensured that her involvement in his life never felt like control or charity. Instead, she became a steady presence, opening doors while allowing him to walk through them on his own terms. One of the greatest challenges he faced was redefining his identity. For years, he had introduced himself first and foremost as a father, a provider, someone doing his best under difficult circumstances. Now he was being seen as capable of more, as someone whose insight and integrity had value beyond survival. This shift was unsettling. It forced him to revisit dreams he had buried long ago, dreams of contributing, of building something meaningful. Letting himself dream again felt almost dangerous, like touching an old wound, but it also felt alive. As he stepped into new responsibilities, he discovered that the qualities that had sustained him through hardship were the very qualities that allowed him to thrive now. Patience learned from parenting translated into leadership. Empathy, forged through loss, became wisdom. His past struggles were no longer something to hide. They were the foundation of his credibility. Slowly, he stopped seeing his life as a series of missed opportunities and began to see it as preparation. His daughter noticed the change in him before anyone else. Children sense shifts in energy long before they can name them. She saw how his shoulders no longer sagged under invisible weight, how his smile lingered longer, how his eyes held a light she had never quite seen before. Their conversations deepened, moving beyond daily routines into dreams and possibilities. He spoke to her about kindness, about how the smallest choices could echo across decades, shaping lives in ways we might never witness. She listened with the seriousness only a child can muster, absorbing lessons that would one day guide her own path. There were moments when the past still hurt. The absence of the partner he had lost, the years of loneliness, the sacrifices that could never be reclaimed. Healing did not erase grief, but it softened its edges. He learned that joy and sorrow could coexist, that honoring what had been lost did not prevent embracing what had been found. In quiet moments, he felt gratitude not just for the help he received, but for the man he had been even when no one was watching. The story of their reconnection began to circulate quietly, not as a headline, but as a whisper among those who valued substance over spectacle. It inspired others within the woman's company and beyond, reminding them that success disconnected from humanity was hollow. Initiatives grew, mentorships formed, and acts of kindness multiplied, all tracing their roots back to one simple decision made in a moment of compassion 20 years earlier. If this continuation of the story is resonating with you, if you feel that slow swell of emotion that comes from recognizing truth in struggle and hope in endurance, please take a moment to engage with the video. Your likes, shares, and comments help stories like this travel farther, reaching people who may be standing at their own metaphorical gates, unsure if kindness will ever come back to them. Near the end of this journey, the single dad found himself standing once more on his porch, this time under a clear sky. The gate was open, not as a barrier, but as an invitation. He realized that life had not come to collect a debt after all. It had come to return something he had never truly lost: faith in the quiet power of being good, even when the world offers no guarantees. Before the video closes, we invite you once more to comment below. Share a thought, a feeling, or a memory this story stirred within you. Your words may be exactly what someone else needs to read today. In the end, the most powerful transformation was not measured in financial security or professional success, but in the deep, unshakable understanding that kindness is never wasted. It travels through time, waits patiently, and returns when we least expect it. The single dad's life was not rewritten. It was revealed as a testament to endurance, love, and the profound truth that even the smallest light, once lit, can guide others home decades later.